For anyone complaining about the Rodri Ballon d'Or after watching Man City without him
not even
are
a question.
insane.
It's not even a question.
He might be the most important player in the history of the sport. Welcome back to Yanks Abroad. We have another set of player performances today. I'll be doing Gio Reyna, and you'll be doing the lethal combo of Timothy Weah and Weston McKennie after their win against Manchester City. We have some exciting Yanks Abroad updates as well as some not so exciting updates. So we'll get right into it. And then the player performances, and will finish this off with some power rankings. But overall update, the record breakers. More records are being broken. Weston and Weah were the first Americans to combine for a goal in the Champions League ever. Pretty cool stat.
Who else could have ever even done it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, has there ever been a combo that played in the Champions League together?
Well, Musa and Pulisic last year
Right.
could have potentially done it.
That was such a stupidly posed question.
Tillman and Pepe could have done it this year or last year. I'm actually surprised.
There are actually a lot of options now that I just posed that idiotic question. No, I mean, I was saying historically, and the fact that we have two right now that I just...
I don't think there would have been... unless Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty are doing it for Celtic.
That would be electric.
Yeah, that would be electric. Could happen. A little set piece, header across the box, header in.
Yeah. That was an electric goal that will cover in his player performance. Gio Reyna got his first goal for Borussia Dortmund in 583 days.
Jesus.
I will be covering that performance. And it may not be as good as you may have thought. There's a reason potentially he hasn't scored in 583 days. Jedi Robinson, who we touched on last week, got 2 assists against Liverpool and continues to be not even maybe the best left back, but the best wing back.
Most assists of a wing back, of a fullback in the Premier League this season. I think it's more than Trent and Andy Robertson combined even. Yeah, so, he's on fire.
And they are as well.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I told you they were going to be good this year. Marco Silva's a good manager. They'll do the same thing they did last year, which is the second half. They'll probably know that they're like 8th, but not in Europe, and fall off. But, hey, they could get a Conference League spot. That's an exciting
that would be exciting for them. Trusty and Carter-Vickers lifted the Scottish Cup over the weekend for Celtic, and Zendejas lifted a cup for Club America. He had a goal and 2 assists over the 2 legs in that cup final. He's a legend. Brendan Aronson scored a late insurance goal as he continues a solid season in the championship. And then in worse news, we covered the Pulisic injury a little bit last episode. He's obviously still out injured, but Fuller and Balogun is getting surgery, and he's going to be out 4 months, which is tragic.
It is tragic. It's really an odd one because he came back, and he didn't have anything that hampered the injury. He just was still in constant pain. And
he probably played, realized this is not sustainable, and it's better to get it fixed now.
No, for sure. I guess we're not going to have him obviously at the Nations League semi and hopefully final, assuming we make it. Hopefully you have him back for the Gold Cup this summer.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe won't have played that much. Monaco are doing great right now. Mbolo's filled in nicely. They're probably going to automatically make it to the round of 16 in the Champions League, which is pretty crazy. They put up a decent fight against Arsenal at Monaco, but they ended up getting trampled. But I do think Balogun's in jeopardy of not being the starting striker this summer with the form that Pepe's in. And then once that happens, anything's possible. It's just crazy because 3 months ago we wouldn't even be discussing the possibility of that injury or not. But Pepe has shown that he can do it.
No, it's up for grabs, and if he makes the spot his own, like you said, then it's going to be really dependent on very few and far appearances for the U.S. leading up to the World Cup, and then how they do for their clubs, which Balogun has not been great recently. And then finally, in bad news, Chris Richards not in the 18 again for Palace against Brighton. And
they're playing well.
Yeah,
they're finally getting it going.
We discussed when we're hitting the alarm bell, and it's not yet, but they have a couple more matches.
We said the Christmas fixtures. Yeah. So basically, I think it's 5 matches, including 2 against Arsenal, starting Wednesday through the new year.
Not being in the squad, that still goes back to my injury thing. Why would he not be a sub still?
I would imagine it could be injury, and he's just not training well due to injury. But, he was called up to the U.S. team in November. That's a month ago. They're not calling him up if they don't think he's healthy enough to at least train.
Something again, hopefully.
I've read nothing about it. It's possible.
They're keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, because he's
what my sources are telling me.
You got those Crystal Palace sources.
Yeah, so some good and some not so good, which seems to be the common theme over the past month or 2 months after a really flying start overall for the for the
pictures
US
come thick and fast, injuries hit, and I think at the beginning of the year, a lot of players took advantage of the fact that some of the clubs they were at were kind of still figuring out their summer transfer plans and whatever, and really hit the ground running. I mean, even Pepe, who was hot as can be, De Jong's back, and he's not in the starting 11 anymore. So, I mean, that's got to be frustrating for him at his age to be scoring the goals he's scoring, to have a chance to prove he's the number 9
I feel like for them, they got to figure out how to play a 2-striker system. I feel like if those two bodies, just like they could create havoc, I'd have to imagine.
And from what I can tell, since De Jong is back, 2 matches in a row Pepe hasn't started. They've lost both, including they lost to Brest, who are having an excellent Champions League campaign. And then they lost to Zwolle. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right. SZWOLLE.
Brest is certainly correct.
Yes, and Zwolle, and they lost in the Eredivisie. That's
Did they?
1-0. That's not great without Pepe starting. So some are saying most important player on the side.
All right, well, time to get into Gio Reyna's performance.
Let's just start it off with thank you, Landon Donovan, for continuing to reverse jinx United States men's national team's players. Every time he tells one to move to the MLS, they go and hit the ground running. So
yeah, well, he got the start against Barcelona, which was exciting. He wasn't fantastic, and then obviously was good enough to be awarded the start at the weekend. And I thought again was not fantastic, but did score their only goal. So. Excuse me. We will go through that. So my thing with Gio is I feel like after watching this performance, he is just doing a consistent, like nonchalant gimmick is how I feel when
any of the great number 10s
when I watch him play. And I feel like this is something that kind of has just been talked about with us and with everyone involving Gio for the men's national team is like, you see how great he is, but you never feel like you're getting enough from him. And that is consistently what we're seeing. So here he gets the ball played back, has a ton of options. He can go back out wide. It'll be a tight pass in between that kind of triangle into Couto, making that run into the box. So he chooses to make that whip cross to Guirassy at the back post. And I don't think that's entirely the wrong decision. He's a pretty physically dominant forward, but unless you can see the video or I stand up and illustrate it, just try and imagine it is the classic, like, just flick of the ball, like, no pace on it, and just super nonchalant, whatever, ends up 10 yards
I have to say those crosses just generally, when they don't come off, are so frustrating. Because it's like, that's a great ball when it works, but it's such a hard one to execute.
A little flick, and it looks like he could not have been trying less. I understand that that's kind of the technique that's needed, but if there's not
how upset Brandt is in that second pitch that he didn't play it out
there's
wide.
Not too much space. Like, he's already progressed essentially to the penalty spot. So if you're going to loft that in, it's kind of you're threading a needle here. It needs to be played in with pace so the goalie doesn't have time to come and collect. But yeah, he's pissed. Awful ball. That's just part one of his whole nonchalant gimmick that he has going. Here is another example of this. It is a loose ball. The opposing player is always going to get there first, but I think with the right, like whenever it's the first thing you learn when you're going to close down, you take a couple big strides and then chop your feet so you can set yourself. He just kind of jogs in there. And the guy skips right, like, again, a little hard to illustrate with pictures. I see you. But he takes one body feint, skips around him, and he just launches his left arm out to try and stop him. Where if he had literally just gone into a athletic position, I think he could have done a better job closing him down.
All you're trying to do there is put pressure on the player so he doesn't have an easy way forward. Instead,
meanwhile, they're out the other way, and you have 4 Dortmund players kind of left out of the picture there. Just simple things that stuck out to me from the start. Things get better.
I will say it makes the whole him playing deeper than McKennie in the summer under Berhalter very funny.
Yeah.
Like, just makes 0 sense.
So I will say, defensively he was a little lazy. When he was on the ball, he was a little lazy. But I will say when they were in the attack, him trying to find pockets, I thought he was pretty active and did a good job. So the ball comes in here. He sees that. Again, I don't know if there's communication or he just sees it, that Guirassy is right behind him, back to goal, and just chooses to make a one-time flick, which actually comes off extremely well.
That goes over the defender's head?
Slightly around, whatever it may be, and perfectly weighted to where if you see anything in the air, you would think that central defender would have time to, but perfectly weighted. Guirassy picks up this ball with essentially no one near him.
Right.
He chooses to take a touch, and the guy closes him down, and the ball goes to the goalkeeper. But a really good ball here that if Guirassy had hit this first time, that could have been an assist.
Right. And that's one that doesn't show up in the stat sheet as a chance created. But
because he doesn't, It
is a chance created, but he doesn't shoot. I mean, I don't know if he scores on the half volley, but you don't know what comes from it.
Right. But yeah, great. Just that's the creativity we see from him a lot, that he has this in his bag.
Yeah.
To play essentially a blind ball that could have created. I mean, this ball is bouncing. He very well could have taken that first time.
For sure.
Next, we have the goal. So this comes right out of the half. This is a cross from Gittins, which is pretty poor. Felt like a force of a cross to begin with. They have 4 players. You have Adeyemi at the back post. It's literally Guirassy versus 4 players. They would have needed to thread a needle. Nonetheless, they get very lucky, puts the ball in, and that player heads it out. The only thing worse than the cross was the clearing header.
Yeah,
that goes directly to Gio Reyna. He chests it down really well and gets into that space, and a rocket of a finish. I mean, something you expect any good player to finish. He has a ton of time and space, a half volley, like coming off the ground, but a really, really good finish, and gets them the 1-0 lead after they were, I think, like a goal and a half favorites and looked very lackluster in the first half, but they came out. He gets a huge goal for them to take the 1-0 lead.
You had a goal like this from Reyna, and my first thought was like, yes, this is what you expect of him. At a bare minimum is, he's incredibly technically skilled. Yeah. He has a moment of magic. These are all the things, like, what this doesn't impress me. Then the other thought was the exact opposite, which is, where else do we have this in the squad? Is this something we need in the squad? Like, if you look at all the top teams, and I mean, I always compare a lot of things to Arsenal because that's the most media I take in, but Arteta over and over talks about we need a player with a moment of magic. We need a player who can score from nothing, yada, yada, yada. Do we need Reyna to be that for the U.S. men's national team, or is that not what we want from that role? Because I go back and forth on that, because I feel like Pulisic at first, when he really was like becoming a star, it wasn't really the moments of magic. It was the consistency of Pulisic always getting in and around the box. And then we've added Balogun, who now kind of showed a couple of moments of magic. So it's like, is that profile actually something we need, or would we rather have a more robust number 10 who can put a foot in, who can defend, who can do all the things that we need out of that role?
My feeling is with Poch and the form the other players are in, so the way he's fallen in love with Musa, he's obviously going to occupy that. I think Weah is in great form, and then if Balogun or Pepe, we're pretty confident at this point in either of them, and then Pulisic playing the best football, it feels like I'd rather have someone who is consistently going to support that setup and allow those players to thrive, rather than someone who may break down the attack at times, but give us that. Maybe you have to play him against a better side who you do need just like counterattack, like let's be technically gifted. He can maybe play a pass that no one else can play, or a finish like this. But I lean that like until he's willing to put in a full shift, he can't get into the squad for me.
And I think I don't know if you get quite the technique like that. I mean, we saw Tillman score a goal like that in the Champions League. Yeah. But I think Reyna does have a little bit more of that in his game. A little bit,
but like the energy that Tillman provides is...
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I'd rather have Tillman off the rip, and if you're chasing a game, Reyna's a great kind of player who can just spam in balls from the half space and like over and over again hit the same spot, whereas I don't know that that's Tillman's expertise. I think Tillman's a little bit more carry-focused, more big-bodied, athleticism-focused. Reyna, to me, just really doesn't spell starting 11 in the World Cup. He just, at this moment, I don't see it.
What he feels like, if he could take this role on, which we know he struggles mentally to deal with different things, if he should be the Brendan Aronson Energizer Bunny. Agreed. If he can come in with real energy for 30 minutes
and technique,
he's just 10 times better than what Aronson provides.
Exactly.
So,
although Aronson's been doing it great for Leeds this year, I mean, I've been thinking, because I think they're going to get promoted, like, Brendan Aronson's better off staying in the Championship.
100%.
Like, he's just not fit for the Premier League.
I feel
for his own personal career.
Like, it's not going to help him get into...
No, he's not. That's irrelevant. Yeah. But, I mean, he's just not fit for the Premier League.
No, he's just not the greatest player, and that's just...
100%.
He needs to be like...
By the way, he'd probably be great at PSV. Look how Paxton's doing at Utrecht.
Paxton might be better than him.
I think Paxton is better than him.
Anyways, here is more of the pour from... so this is right after the goal. This is a chance for Dortmund essentially to put the game away. They end up drawing this match 1-1. A poor clearance from the goalkeeper. It was a pass to that player in white who the ball is going past. It is a one-time ball from, I believe this is Ben Sabani, into Gio. And now he's running at it. You have a 4-on-5. If you include Gio, it is a 5-on-5. But he's got 4 different options to play here. Mm-hmm. Realistically, you're not playing it to 3 or 4 unless he plays the most sick in the head outside of the boot.
And is Guirassy onside there?
He's onside, but that player, that center back, is backtracking, turning that way.
Right.
So I think he makes the right decision, which is playing it into Bynor Gittins, who would then just one touch play it into Guirassy for a goal. But just really, really, really poor ball. Like, not even close.
Wait, go back to the previous image?
Not even close to, like, there is so much space.
Just so far behind him?
Yeah, like, with no pace. It's just such a poor ball. Like, this is...
I mean, the number one place you can't do is behind him. Anywhere in front of him, he's got a chance of getting
There's
at
unlimited... Right. Even if it goes too far to the left and he has to cycle it, or it goes too far... It can't go too far... He can almost play Gittins into score because that center back is turning towards Guirassy.
I mean, that's insanely
and it's
poor
just
ball.
a really, really poor ball that has a chance minutes after he scores the goal to essentially kill this game off, which feels like a poor opportunity blown. And then the last opportunity is... I talked about his movement off the ball when he wanted to get it. He sees this is a great press breaking pass where he's going to be able to turn and have multiple options. So Guirassy is making that run in between the two center backs and actually takes both of them. So Reyna does a good job recognizing that by making that other run through the fullback.
The bottom here,
yes? Yeah.
In the half space.
Yeah. So you see both center backs are running with Guirassy. The fullback is trying to recover, but Reyna makes a really well-timed run, and the ball is good. And now I'm confused because he's running onto the ball. It is a simple left-footed pass into Guirassy.
Look, the goalie's already going that way.
And instead, he chooses to make a little bit of a Cruyff turn to get it back on his right foot, give the fullback and the center back both time to recover, and the ball is taken off of him. It just...
Can you go to 3
When
again?
I see this picture...
So this fullback gets all the way back into position before he even attempts to make a pass.
So the center back turns to close this down.
There's a fullback chasing him.
Fullback chasing. He does a turn to get it back on his right to either shoot or play maybe across to Adeyemi at the back post. I don't know. Like Adeyemi he has his hand up, but like when you see this, it's just nothing other than.
I mean, this is just drive forward and just shoot across goal, hope it ends up at Guirassy's feet.
I'm not even taking another touch.
I can't tell how much the ball's bouncing or whatever.
No, this is a flat ball. For me, it is a one-touch pass into Guirassy for a goal.
I mean, it's either that or driving with the motion of the ball.
Right. If he takes one touch forward with his left foot, that goalie's already coming out.
Right.
You could see a world where he just passes it into the net. But yeah, takes it back, too long on the ball, and ruins a good opportunity. This is in the 60th minute. He doesn't have another good interaction.
He gets pulled.
He gets pulled in 70. No, he gets pulled in the 70-something, I believe. His last inclusion is a loose touch that he stomps on someone's foot and gets a yellow card and then gets pulled. I didn't feel like it was necessary showing that, but worth noting. So, again, we see the one-touch ball into Guirassy that could have been an assist. You see the goal. It's amazing. And then you see 3 other opportunities where it's like there's no reason that he shouldn't have left this game with at least 2 goal involvements.
So let me ask you this. Gio Reyna starts against Barcelona, starts here. Does that mean to you he's in the plans at Dortmund for the second half of the season?
Without a doubt. Because I thought he wasn't great against Barca. And then he gets the goal, their only goal. But for me, it's like... And then you have Adeyemi and Bynor Gittins. And it feels like that should be the 3.
They have another 10 who's been playing as well, though. You're not completely making that up.
Anyways, the reason Royce was on my head is because... I did the wrong match from last year. Anyways, my answer is yes, he's in the plans. Do I believe he should be based off of this performance and the Barcelona performance? No.
So let me repose it. If you're Gio Reyna and Gio Reyna's agent and his career, is the best move to look somewhere else in January?
No. He's in the plans. If I'm the coach, he just wouldn't be. I don't think he puts in a good enough shift defensively. I think he's a little lazy on the ball. And... I think Julian Brand is fantastic. I don't know if he's injured or what happened in this match. I think
he is a bit injured.
He's injured, yeah. So, no, I think we're actually in a great moment for Gio. It's just, again, it's on him to show the mentality to do something with it, and I don't think he will.
All right. I think that's fair. I mean, good to see him on the score sheet. Good to see him starting back-to-back matches, but nonetheless, it feels like the same issues.
It's always you're just always left wanting more with Gio, and that's the most frustrating part. And it's at some point we need to be done with the potential, and we need to see consistent, because we know he has it, but at this point, we know that we knew that he has it, and nothing is changing.
All right, over to Weah and McKennie. This is really mostly just a Weah comp, but since McKennie had the assist, we're going to discuss a little bit about McKennie's role. This was the 2-0 win over Manchester City in the Champions League. Weah and McKennie both came on in the 70th minute, right after Juventus had gone 1-0 up.
Yep.
To me, it was a somewhat defensive substitution. Even though Weah came on for Conceição, I think we both know Weah is very good on his defensive acumen. He's a good at ball retention. And McKennie came on for Thuram. I think that was just a like-for-like fresh legs situation. So I didn't do this in order of action. I wanted to start with the goal because that's exciting. So the goal started from the back. You got McKennie there in midfield. Ball comes in here to, I actually don't remember who that is. It's a little blurry.
6? Is that Douglas Luiz?
No, it's not Douglas Luiz. Anyway, ball comes in. McKennie basically has two options here. As you can see, this ball is coming out to the left wing. He can drop back in to kind of the more midfield position.
Yep.
He's got Rico Lewis coming towards him over there and just help recycle play and hold possession. But he kind of waits and stutters before he makes any decision to see what happens. And the second this ball is actually played here, he realizes all three players are collapsing. Rico Lewis has not come nearly close enough to him, and he's just steps right into the space, which opens up an immediate counterattacking opportunity because, listen, Manchester City are missing Rodri, and McKennie recognizes this. Rodri's going to be standing in this space if he's there.
For anyone complaining about the Rodri Ballon d'Or after watching Man City without him
not even
are
a question.
insane.
It's not even a question.
He might be the most important player in the history of the sport.
You and I both thought he should win Ballon d'Or. I mean, it was a no-brainer. He had an incredible year. I mean, the statistics before this spoke for themselves. I think they had not lost like 65 matches in a row he had played for them or something like that. All right. Anyway, McKennie picks up the ball here, and he just kind of lets it run and immediately gets his head up to make a spectacular ball. You can see it there over the top, just so you can see here. He's about to swing this ball over the top of both defenders. That ball is still in the air, clearing both of them, and McKennie just follows. He doesn't just, say, look, Weah's in. This is either a one-on-one goal or nothing. He just follows the play and just continues to move forward. Weah picks up the ball. He's in an excellent, excellent space. You can see, I believe that's Vlahovic at the bottom of your screen. McKennie still running, but not taking the space Vlahovic is in, right? He lets the striker make this front post run to the open space. McKennie, as you can see, I put two arrows there to kind of illustrate. He kind of makes this mini run, waits for Weah to get a little bit further in. And as Weah tries to make this play into Vlahovic, McKennie starts to drift back post. Again,
this is my only problem with this goal, is it just pisses me off that the first Weah ball is so disappointing.
Well, it's not great, but he gets closed down well. I think he gets to the right position. And as Casey says, the ball to Vlahovic is not great. It comes right back to Weah, who now has McKennie wide open at the penalty spot because McKennie, again, I think it's really important to see how he has timed this run. He does not just full-on sprint into the box because he has a striker ahead of him who's making that run. Like, far too often I find when you get into these opportunities, everybody makes the same run, right? Yep. And then if the first ball doesn't come off, which it doesn't always, there's nobody for a second ball or a missed opportunity, right? This ball could have come into Vlahovic. Weah could have cleared the first defender. The ball could have gotten to Vlahovic, and he could have missed it, and then there's nobody to clean it up at the back post. And I think McKennie, just a really smart play, waits for it. Second ball comes in, and he scores his second bicycle kick in his Champions League history.
Insane.
A great goal into the bottom left corner. Ederson does not stand a chance to stop it. Really sweet contact. Doesn't try to do anything spectacular. Just scissor kicks it in. And
I mean, it's an insane goal.
It's a wonderful goal and a really well-deserved one from McKennie because, I mean, Weah does well, but it's all McKennie. McKennie makes this whole goal happen from the very beginning of build-up, just really smartly timed runs. And I think even just getting into the box and into this position, I mean, right here, he could have made this ball and just stopped. It's Weah one-on-one, whatever, but I think there's this lazy narrative we get with McKennie a lot, and I think this whole goal really just shows you how smart of a footballer he is.
I mean, speaking of lazy, if you look at C and D, you see Kyle Walker is involved close to this play, and then you go to E, and he's still, you can see him at the bottom, right cut off at the bottom. The fact that he is not back in the box for not only the first cross from Weah, but the second one is the most insane thing to me in the entire world.
Look at you go back to C. He's got a pretty
he's level
solid,
with all of them.
Right. He's at maybe the most in front of the play. So definitely not.
And then you go to where Weston is for the goal in H, and he's literally not even close. Like, if I'm Pep, that's a benchable offense for me.
I don't even understand. How is he there? What is he?
He's just jogging. Like, this is the first ball, and he's just jogging the entire time.
It's actually crazy. It really is.
Like, you see him at the bottom of the screen right there. If he was on a full sprint, we know Kyle Walker's fast. He's probably in the box for the first cross, let alone the second one. Anyways, we're talking about the Americans.
Anyway, it was a great goal. First American combo goal in Champions League history. Puts the game away against Manchester City. And I think his other bicycle kick, McKennie, was against Barcelona a couple years ago in the Champions League. I think it was one of his first Champions League goals. So he's got it in him. We both know he can score goals. And, this is the kind of goal that I see him scoring for the U.S. I don't think he's not going to be the 10 who's in and around the box all the time.
We were talking about that. We always wanted him to make these second runs, and putting him at the 10 just never really made much sense.
No, I think he's much better in these types of situations. There were some other impressive moments from this little 20-minute cameo, including some really nice defensive work from Tim Weah. The rest of this comp is all Tim Weah, either defensive work or ball retention. So it's just Weah, man-on-man with Gvardiol, right winger, covering the left back, very common situation. He does really well just to kind of get in his way so he can't play that ball into Haaland. You see Haaland kind of lurking at the back post. Continue to get in his way, make him go all the way to the byline, and then just stay in his way. Ball goes out for a corner. It's simple, but I don't know that I feel Gio Reyna does this job so well out on the right wing.
I promise you he does not.
I think this kind of stuff is the way that Tim Weah gets in above Yunus Musa at that right wing spot for Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
Another nice little play of action. This ball comes into Bernardo Silva. Weah's behind the play. Bernardo Silva is trying to just make an easy ball into Haaland for a goal, but Weah continues to work hard, gets his foot in front of it. Ball just goes right to the goalkeeper. And again, it's not anything spectacular, but these simple things, like the United States, if they do get a lead in the World Cup against a good side, are going to defend for the entirety of the rest of the game. It's a matter of concentration and hard work.
Yeah.
And Tim Weah shows that he can do that, which I think is super important. And now we're going to do a couple ball retention moments from Tim Weah. Here, ball just kind of gets, squeezed out from a Man City attack into Weah's feet. He's got Gvardiol closing down on him. He sees that. He has scanned that Gvardiol is coming in. Weah wants to spin out, start a counterattack, takes a really nice first touch, gets Gvardiol on his back and starts the turn. You can see if you play it in fast motion, it's almost like video. 1, 2, 3. Gvardiol is beat, fouls him. You get rest for your team, ball retention, 40 seconds go off the clock. It's silly because that's a part of the sport, but
it's massive.
Winning that foul is almost better than getting away from Gvardiol there.
Because by a landslide. Because then he's isolated out on the right side. You
lose the ball, you play
without a doubt.
This is a minute of rest you've got in your team. The whole team
get
gets
him
up the
out
pitch.
of the
It's really well done. And then one more time, Weah does a really nice job, which I think is the thing he's best at, is receiving long balls on the right wing. Ball's coming in. You can see it almost coming in. Very high, lofted ball. He actually takes a touch in a way that the defender has to take a step away from Rico Lewis. Look how close they are together here, right? He's on his back. This ball, he flicks it straight up in the air. Rico Lewis takes a step away. Weah's now basically either going to get in the way of the ball and control it or try and go around him. He tries to flick it around him. Rico Lewis has to play it out. And again, 30 seconds.
Relieves pressure.
Relieves pressure. It's so silly that winning the ball out of bounds or winning a foul is so important. But at this stage of the game, this is why Tim Weah came on. I don't think Conceição offers this type of ball retention, physicality, defensive work rate. And it just proves sometimes you just need to do a job. That's the job as a substitute in this sport. Most importantly, is to do a job. And Tim Weah is showing Thiago Motta that he can do that job in the biggest of matches against the best opponents.
And that's the difference, because we talked about there is a job for Gio to do at the World Cup, which is give him 30 minutes and just be that spark. But like you said, there's something so amazing about just doing a job, and I don't know if he has that in him, which is the pure difference of why he will play 75-80% of minutes at the World Cup, and Gio might not even crack 20.
100%. And Tim Weah right now, not the starting right wing. I don't know that the starting right wing role is open. I think Pochettino's in love with Musa there, but if he can do this for 30 minutes every match.
I think the three is Musa, Pulisic, and Weah.
You think Weah through the middle?
No, I think Pulisic through the middle.
As a pseudo striker?
As a 10, yeah. Playing right behind.
Oh, you're saying Pulisic as the 10 and then Pepe or Balogun still as a striker. No, I can see that for sure. I think Weah really is much better off the right, is my only concern. I haven't seen enough of him off the left.
It's few and far between, but I feel like he's been, from the one comp I did on this channel
he was
with
good.
him at the left wing, and then the goal he scored in the second leg against Jamaica, he was off the left wing. Like, it's early, and I agree. The thing about Weah that's so good is squaring people up, getting to the byline, using his pace on the right side. But I think there's something to be said about him on the left wing.
No doubt. I mean,
I don't feel like it's a Foden situation where we're playing him like wildly out of position just to get our most informed players.
100% not. And he's a true out-and-out winger in a lot of ways, so I don't think that which wing you play him on matters as much as a Foden who likes to receive in pockets, and that's why he's better off the right. It
feels like if we have Dest and Musa out on that right side, like that's where a lot of our possession is going to come from. And then if you have Weah and Antony on the left side, it's just like we're just running straight.
Well, that's the other issue. Like, do Weah and Antony work together? Probably not. So,
well, the reason he was successful out on that left side is because he played a little bit of that left wing back role when Antony was inverted. I don't know. Poch has some stuff to work with, which is very exciting. I'm excited to see if and when all of our players are healthy, to how he sets up.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's just like, oh, he's coming back, but Balogun's now out, and then Dest is going to come back, but Pulisic might. Like, it's just a lot of
we just don't have the wealth of talent that some of the other nations do. Right. So when we're missing a player,
you feel it.
It's a much bigger hole than maybe for some other countries. All right, power rankings.
Yes, sir.
So I still got Pulisic at the top. I think he will fall, but nothing happened in the last week.
That's fair.
To where there's somebody who, like, he has enough of a lead in
Did they announce how long it is?
January 3rd, they believe he'll be back. So let's see if somebody, and there's some busy time before he comes back. Let's see if somebody can take that top spot.
And if Pulisic needs some rest during what probably would have taken out a ton on his legs, like I'm not
complaining at all. I still got Tillman at number 2. I think he was really close to Pulisic. He played well in the 2 losses they had this week.
Yeah.
So I kept him at 2. Antony up to number 3. Yeah. I mean, you can't avoid the fact that he is one of the best left backs in the world, one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. Like, that's just an unavoidable thing at this moment. There are the moments that are frustrating, but I think you think about Trent. I'm not comparing him to Trent, but you think about Trent. He has plenty of moments that are frustrating, and many think he's the best right back in the world.
There's no world where he goes somewhere
in January. I can't imagine Fulham
would, because feels like, because like you said, is Fulham actually competing, but they're building like kind of a young core that they could go forward with. So if they get a really good price, because we know January prices go up, on Jedi, who is aging, it just feels like, I mean, he's extremely important to the side, of course, but it feels like it could be a sneaky good time for them to like offload him.
No, I think come this summer, he may just want to, like, if Manchester United come calling, and by the way, I think he's perfect for that system. We have to defend way less under Amorim and get forward way more. Then, yeah, I think he makes a move to Manchester United. I think Chelsea potentially, who basically only have Cucurella, who's been great.
Who's been good.
But they are not, worried about having 2 players for one position with the way they spend.
Absolutely not. And they are going on a full title charge.
We'll see about that. No. It's November. It's December.
They are in the title race.
They are in the title race. Let's talk in March.
If you get to Christmas and you're in the title race, you're in the title race.
Christmas, they've played 16 games. It's not even half a season.
It's close.
Weah 4. I think he's played excellently. Obviously, had the assist. I thought this was a great performance. Yep. I mean, Juventus can't win a game in the league, but they haven't lost yet. So, Tyler Adams 5. He just drops, I think, 1 spot from last week. Playing well for Bournemouth. Bournemouth had a bit of an odd match with West Ham on Monday, where that penalty was a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Then I got McKennie at 6 with the goal in the Champions League, continuing to play well. I got Ricardo Pepi all the way down at 7 just because he's lost his starting spot. I think if he had started, I would have kept him higher.
Yeah.
But if he's not going to start week in and week out,
he can't
be that high. At 8, I got Johnny Cardoso, who made his return to the better side.
Oh, nice.
They're a different team with him in it. He's really just been excellent for them when he played. At 9, I cheated a little bit. I put Trusty and Carter Vickers as a combo number 9. They lift the Scottish League Cup. They seem to be the preferred pairing for a Champions League team, a top-of-the-table Scottish Premiership team. It's not nothing. It's
close to nothing.
It's an interesting concept. There's a world in which
if there are 2 starting center backs, we're cooked.
I kind of tend to agree, and I'm not.
We've seen Carter Vickers, and then we saw. Trusty was in the worst side potentially ever in the Premier League, but we saw what happened when he was against good talent.
Listen,
is Celtic even playing well in the Champions League?
Yeah, they're going to probably qualify. Okay. I think if they get a draw, I think if they get either 2 or 3 points in the last 2 matches, they will make the next stage. They may not need any of that depending on others, but they're ahead of teams like Manchester City.
Well, yeah, and PSG.
Right. And then last but not least, Joe Scally. In his last 6 matches for Gladbach, they have 1 loss. Played really well in their last 2 matches, including a draw with Dortmund, playing 90 minutes at right back, had a big chance created. He's playing well for Gladbach.
Feels harsh on Brendan.
Brendan Aronson? Yeah. I just went for Scally playing in a better league.
No, I love it.
Than Brendan Aronson. Yeah, left off Aronson, Balogun, Chris Richards, who's not playing. Mark McKenzie, I want to keep getting him in there.
He's 90 every week.
And he's doing well. He had a really nice match in their most recent 1-1 draw. Tessman, starting to get a little worried. He played like 6 minutes at the end of in the Europa League. He played like 6 minutes or something like that.
And I wanted to see him play against PSG.
Yeah. Busio, I think, is hard done by not getting in here. Venezia are just so poor. But and then Musa was the biggest dropout for me of this power rankings. He's actually just not taken this opportunity that much at AC Milan. I agree. So I'd like to see. I mean, I think he's
Serie A has been very interesting this year. There's a lot of parity going on in there.
Yeah, there's
similar to the Prem actually.
Yeah, I think sometimes football needs a bit of a healing cycle. I love it. So it's good.
All right, well, that's all we got. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and as always, comment down below who we should do next. Do we have some match just got announced for the U.S.?
Yeah, we have a couple of friendlies in January that are not during an international window.
Oh, so that's why I was confused. Because
I don't really know who will be in those sides, but we'll be covering them nonetheless to see maybe some youngsters potentially get called up. Maybe maybe it's an international break in Mexico.
I have no idea.
I don't really know how
Anyways,
that works.
We'll be there for all of it.
Yes. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.